Wednesday at work was probably a lot like most places the day before Thanksgiving. Production was low, and everyone wanted to start their long weekend early. Half the office staff left at noon. I was support for production, so I didn't leave until 4 o'clock. I got home ahead of Melanie, so I went down and checked the laptop. Mary had come over and was talking to her about Jack. Mary was complaining that Jack was depressed and hadn't wanted to do anything, not even sex. Well, a job is everything to a man. They get their self-worth from it. He'll be okay when he gets another job. Did you talk to Kurt about helping him out? She asked. He said he could use him as a reference. That should help him, Melanie replied. They talked some more, but I wasn't listening. I was thinking to myself, how can Melanie sit there and console Mary knowing that she is screwing her husband? Later, there was a call from Jack. Oh, hi, Jack. Mary came over to talk. She's just as clueless as Kurt. KJ is going to be gone until Sunday. I'll try to get together with you this weekend. I'm sure Kurt will have to go to the office for a while, he always does. I'll text you when I know more. Talk to you later, lover. I'll give you all the time you want, I actually said out loud to myself. Thanksgiving, we made a nice lunch. Not too big, but nice, turkey breast, yams, stuffing, cranberry sauce, and pumpkin pie. At around 2 o'clock, Brad called. I let Melanie get the phone, I had it sitting on the kitchen counter. Hello, CTS phone. Oh, hi, Mr. Bilson. Sure, I'll get him. He's just in the other room. Hi, Brad. How are you this happy Thanksgiving Day? Well, here's your phone call. My wife couldn't believe I was bothering you on Thanksgiving. So, what's the verdict? You need me in New Jersey? I said, kind of loudly. Tonight, really, on Thanksgiving? 7 o'clock at Detroit Metro? Yeah, I'll be there, honey. Brad needs me to fly to New Jersey tonight. They are having problems, and their department head is on vacation. Why do they need you to leave tonight? She asked. They have an automotive order that is due Monday morning, so they are working tomorrow and through the weekend to get it out by Sunday night. I have to ensure that they are there Monday morning. I even have to be at the GM plant to ensure the parts are perfect for the customer. It's called JIT, just-in-time inventory. If they go down because we don't have our parts to them, then we are stuck paying thousands of dollars to cover their downtime. It's the cost of doing business with the automakers, I explained. I've got to get ready to go. I need to be at the airport by 5 o'clock, I said, as I hurried down the stairs to get my suitcase. I grabbed my suitcase and checked my laptop, making sure it was all set to tape everything and made sure it was well hidden. Back upstairs, I said to Melanie, do you know where my toiletry kit is? Last time I saw it, it was in the linen closet behind the shampoo, she said. Thanks, honey. What would I do without you? I said, hiding the sarcasm very well. I headed upstairs with the suitcase. I laid out both good clothes, business casual, and bad clothes. Melanie knew that I could get dirty at my job. I grabbed my underwear, socks, shoes, also some shorts and swimming trunks for the hotel, as well as some t-shirts and workout clothes. I also grabbed a suit. I figured I may be packing for more than a few days. Melanie came in and saw all the clothes on the bed. Do you really need all those clothes? I never know what I'll need. They may want me to talk to the GMX sex. I still can't believe you have to leave on Thanksgiving. I have to be at the plant at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'd rather not have to catch a flight at 2 in the morning. Well, I'll miss you, she said. I turned around and looked at her. The words sounded good, but the look on her face didn't show it. If Melanie did what I thought she was going to do, I bet those were just words. I threw the suitcase in the trunk of the car. I came back into the house and asked Melanie if she wanted to drive me or should I leave my car in long-term parking. If you drive me, you'll have to pick me up Monday afternoon, she thought about it. I knew what she was thinking. I hate driving in Detroit traffic, especially the airport. But if I drive him, he won't have a car and can't come home unexpectedly. I'll drive you, honey. It's Thanksgiving. I'll miss you when you're gone. This will give me another hour or so to be with you, she said, laying it on thick. Okay, well, we should leave in about an hour. What do you want to do in the meantime? I looked at her with that look. We don't have time for that, she said. Maybe when you get back, or maybe not, I thought. All right, we'll just relax then, I said as I grabbed a beer from the refrigerator. I sat down on the couch and sipped my beer. She grabbed one and sat in the chair opposite me. Sorry I have to leave, honey, but it is important, I said. I know, sweetie. I'll just be alone for the whole weekend. Call Mary, go out to a movie or something. She probably needs something to take her mind off Jack losing his job. Tell her you'll buy Grab dinner while you're out. Are you volunteering at the shelter again this Saturday? Yes, they have a big push for adoption from now to the end of the year. Well, that takes care of Saturday. Are you going Black Friday shopping tomorrow morning? No, I don't really have anything to shop for that would make me want to go out in that crazy mess, she said. Curl up with a good book then, I suggested. Yeah, I'll find something to do, she said. The ride to the airport was more chit-chat. Just drop me off in the front, honey, I said. She pulled up to the curb. I got out, grabbed my suitcase and garment bag out of the trunk, and closed the lid. I walked around to the driver's side. She hadn't even gotten out to give me a goodbye hug. I gave her a peck on the lips and said, I'll call you when I get into my hotel, okay? Have a safe trip. She slowly pulled away from the curb. I wondered if she noticed that neither one of us said, I love you. I walked into the terminal and waited in the lobby for about 10 minutes to see if she would come back. No, she didn't. I went over to the car rental counter and rented a car for 4 days. Outrageous what they charge, but what can you do? I found the car, put my suitcase and garment bag in, and took off for a hotel not too far from home. I wanted to be able to keep an eye on the house, see when she left, when she had visitors, and who. Obviously, I couldn't camp out in front, so I had to drive by occasionally. The car I rented was like every other car. I didn't want to stand out or be noticed. I drove by at about 9 o'clock, no car lights were on. I could see that the TV was on. Well, I guess Jack couldn't leave his wife, child, and any family on Thanksgiving. Probably tomorrow though. I went back to the hotel and waited until 10 o'clock to call Melanie. Hey, just got in. I'm going right to bed. I need to be at the plant by 6 o'clock, I said. Okay, honey. Thanks for calling. I miss you. Miss you too, I said. I did miss her. I missed the woman I fell in love with and married, not the woman she was now. Friday morning, I slept in. When I woke at 9:30 from a sound sleep, one I hadn't had in about 4 weeks, I got up, showered, dressed, and put on jeans, a sweatshirt, and a baseball cap. I drove by the house around 10:15, there it was, Jack's car. It could be Mary though. I had to swing by the bank where she worked to see if she was there. How was I going to do that without her seeing me? I thought, just see if her car is there. I did, it was. That did it. Tomorrow, while Melanie is at her work, I'll sneak in and get the evidence I need. I spent the day driving around Detroit. The city had its issues, but a few philanthropists were putting money back into the city. It was coming back slowly. With all its faults, I would still miss the place. I didn't bother calling Melanie that evening. If she wanted to talk to me, she could make the call. I got no call. Saturday morning, I had breakfast at a Denny's 15 miles from my house. I didn't want anyone recognizing me. I drove back to the house, parked around the corner, and slipped in the backyard. I hope nobody saw me. I checked the garage to make sure that her car was gone, it was. I slipped into the basement and checked the laptop. There it was, 3 videos from the bedroom from yesterday mid-morning. I downloaded the file to a zip drive and slipped back out to my car. I would view the file when I got to the motel. Then it dawned on me, how was I going to view it without a computer? So, I headed toward work. It was after 12 o'clock, the place was deserted. I opened the door with my key, went in, and relocked the door. Then I went to my office. I booted up my computer, stuck the zip drive in, and opened the file. The first image was of my wife walking in a teddy, the teddy I bought for her for our 15th anniversary that she has never worn for me. My anger started to burn. Jack was shedding his clothes as fast as he could. Wow, you look awesome in that. Did you buy it for me? No, Kurt bought it for me a couple of years ago, but I have never worn it. Why not? Jack asked. Because I don't like having sex with Kurt, she said. That hit me like a ton of bricks. What was wrong with our sex life? I thought back to when we were first dating. She was wild in bed, we both were. Our honeymoon was non-stop, we ate almost every meal from room service. Even the first year was sex every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times. Even when she was pregnant, we were at it like rabbits. Then, after KJ was born, it quickly went downhill. I know a new baby limits your time and all you want to do is sleep when you can. However, when KJ was sleeping on a regular schedule, it never came back. I wonder what I had done to have her hate having sex with me. When I looked back at the screen, they were already having sex. He was on top of her, pounding away. Doesn't he pound you like this? He grunted. Never, she grunted back. Then he pulled out, turned her over, put her on her hands and knees, and started screwing her. I'd seen this before with the hooker, he was treating her just like he had treated the housewife. He was pounding away at her, and she was groaning and screaming for more. She screamed out in a climax that was something that I hadn't heard from her in 17 years. Maybe I wasn't rough enough for her. I had 3 angles of her getting screwed in the bum, one of their faces from the camera and the headboard, one from the side from the camera in the closet, and a top view from the camera in the ceiling fan. I didn't want to see any more. I paused the playback. I printed out 2 copies of all 3 angles and exited the program. I pulled the zip drive out, grabbed the pictures from the high-quality printer, and turned off the computer. I'm sure Mary will appreciate these pictures. I walked out of my office and looked around the plant. I would be talking to Brad on Monday, I would need to start the transfer process. I would miss this plant, it had been a part of my life for almost half my life. I walked out of the plant thinking of Melanie. She doesn't like having sex with me, yet she wants him to treat her like a piece of meat. I don't know if I can even get past this. I went to the hotel and just sat there in the dark. After an hour or so, I went to a party store and grabbed a case of beer. I went back to the hotel and just started drinking. I woke up Sunday morning with about a dozen beer cans lying on the floor around me. I had a hell of a headache. I got up, took a piss, and drank a big glass of water. Then I went back to bed. I woke up, and it was 2 o'clock. I had to get up and take a shower, I smelled bad. I took a long hot shower and shaved. I looked 100% better, but I still felt like inside my marriage was a sham, the only good part of it was KJ. KJ would be calling me before too long, I needed to get something to eat. I hadn't eaten since Denny yesterday morning. I took off again for the same Denny's, I still didn't want anyone to recognize me. I had plans that needed me gone for one more day, I needed to make other plans also. By now, Melanie would have chlamydia. Was that enough of a revenge, that and divorce, of course. I sat and thought as I ate, boy, was I hungry. I would divorce her, but in a way that would heap the most coals upon her. I would tell her that I'd like to celebrate Christmas with just us 3 on the Saturday before her parents showed up, then we could do all the holiday things without interfering with our own family. I would put together the memory scrapbook of all the photos throughout our marriage, then the last photo would be delivered in a box with 17 red roses and 1 black rose. 17 years of good marriage and 1 of bad. In the box with the roses, I would put a collage of pictures off the zip drive from this weekend. Then I would have the divorce papers served. If I timed it right, her parents would be arriving right about the same time as I was leaving. I wonder how she would explain this to them. As I was making plans, KJ called. "Hi, KJ," I said. "Hi, Dad. Mom said you had to go out of town when I spoke to her last night. Tonight should I call her and have her pick me up?" "No, honey, I'll still pick you up." "Are you at the airport or at the Barrons?" I asked. "I just got off the plane, I'm waiting for my luggage." "What's going on, Dad?" "I'll explain everything to you when I pick you up. Don't tell Mom anything, okay? Trust me, you know I trust you, Dad." "Okay, I'll be there in about a half an hour." "Okay, sure, Dad, text me when you're here, and I'll come out." I picked her up at the curb and she looked at me with a worried expression on her face. "Okay, what's up?" "Your mom doesn't know it yet, but we're getting a divorce," I told her. "What?" she said. "KJ, before you left, you said something about me not being right for about a month. You are a very perceptive young woman." "You're not sick, are you?" she asked, worriedly. "No, KJ, I am sick and sad that I have to tell you this, but we'll get through this. On Halloween, I finally realized that your mother has been cheating on me." "What?" "Yes, dear, it has been going on since at least the 4th of July. I have proof, but let's just say that I will not be reconciling with her. She has said and done things that make it impossible for me to continue and still keep my self-respect. However, I need you to play the charade with me until the 20th of December, that is when I will be dropping the bomb on her. Grandma and Grandpa will be here then, so they will be able to help her through it. Do you think you can do that?" "Well, I don't spend too much time at home anyway, so it shouldn't be too hard to play the part." "Are you sure you guys can't work it out?" "No, honey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to drop this on you like this, but you are such a level-headed young woman, I figured the straight truth would be best. I did feel something was wrong with you. But I thought it had something to do with work. I'm so sorry, Dad." "Does she know you know?" "No, she thinks I'm clueless. I was until Halloween, that's why I had a migraine," I said, making quotation marks with my fingers. "Who is it? Is it anyone I know?" "Well, I guess it will come out anyway, but you can't say anything or let on in any way." "But okay, yes, Dad, it's Jack Anderson." "Wow, does Mrs. Anderson know?" "Not yet," I said. "Wow, Jasmine is going to be devastated, she thinks the world of her dad," she said. "Well, of course she does, KJ, I said. "No, Dad, she is like obsessed with him. That is one of the reasons she's going to Wayne State, so she can stay at home near her dad." "I didn't know that." "This will probably hurt her badly, you'll need to make sure you help her through this," I said. "I don't think she'll want my help, Dad. It is my mom he's doing it with." "Oh, yeah, right. Well, maybe Mr. Anderson and your mom love each other," I said. "I'm going to have her served right after we celebrate our Christmas together," I told her. "Wow, that's kind of cruel, Dad," she said. "I know, KJ, but I want to do this before the end of the year. Also, I need to do this for my dignity." There was a long pause. "Now I need to tell you the good news," I said, smiling. "How can there be any good news?" "I sure could use some good news after that bad news," she said. "You're going to be receiving an acceptance letter from Cornell within the next 2 weeks." "What? Are you sure? Your old man has connections?" "I didn't get you in, mind you. You did that all by yourself. I just got word early. The other news is I've already arranged to pay for 4 years of tuition in advance. Also, I am paying for room and board, books, and miscellaneous expenses." "How can you do that?" she asked. "That's where I have the connections. Don't worry about a thing, KJ, I've got it all taken care of. You just get good grades and pick a field that you'll love doing. I told you I was going to be an engineer, just like your dad, now who is obsessed with her old man," I joked. Oh, Dad, I love you. Okay, so take this happy feeling and think on that for the next 3 weeks. Don't let your mother think something is wrong, I demanded. By the way, would your old man be imposing too much if he wanted to take you to see the campus on the 20th of December? You'll miss spending time with your grandparents for a few days, I asked. That would be great, Dad. I don't think I'm going to want to be around Mom when you drop the bomb anyway. I didn't want Melanie to see me, so I parked at the end of the drive with my rental car. KJ got out, grabbed her gear, and ran up to the house as I drove away. Melanie welcomed her home with a hug. KJ played the part perfectly. Did all women deserve Oscars? I know Melanie put one over on me. Monday, I checked out of my room, then I spoke with the lawyer. It was a go, the paperwork to be delivered on the 20th. Then I called the florist and told them that I would want the delivery to occur on the 20th. They said they already had it on the calendar. I told them that I would want to put a picture in the box lid and wondered if I could stop by in the afternoon the day before to see the arrangement. I wanted the 17 roses in a circle around a black fully opened rose in the center. The card should say 17 good, 1 bad. Look under the lid. Oh, I would love to see her face when she opened them. Maybe I can rig up a camera at the front door. I would need to find out when her parents were doing on their flight so I could arrange the time for the florist and the process server. I figure at an hour after the arrival time, that should be about the right amount to let them get their luggage, pick up a rental car, and drive to our house. That afternoon, I returned the rental car and texted Melanie. She texted back, "Okay, I'll leave now to come get you." I wondered if she would say anything about me not calling since Thursday night. She could have called me. I didn't feel any remorse on the way home. Can we just pick up Chinese and we're home by 6:30? I walked in the door and was almost bowled over by KJ. WKJ, you can't treat your old man like that. You're not old, Dad, you're just 40. So why did I get attacked at the door? I asked. I got the packet today, Cornell, she screamed. That's great, KJ. You'll be going to our alma mater, I said as I looked at Melanie. No, Dad, Cornell University. I looked shocked. Wow, they are one of the premier engineering colleges in the Northeast. When you said you were applying to Cornell, I naturally assumed our Cornell again. I looked at Melanie. Well, now I feel kind of cheap getting Chinese as a celebration dinner. Oh, Dad, you know I like Chinese. For some reason, I thought of Monty Python. Strange how the mind works sometimes. KJ's joy and enthusiasm made my night go a lot better. I had been dreading spending the night with my soon-to-be ex-wife. I think KJ made a point of keeping the mood happy. I sure appreciate the woman my daughter has turned into. I guess I have to give the credit to Melanie for most of that. She was the one with her during her developmental years. At 8:30, I said good night. I told them I was beat and headed to bed. At 10 o'clock, Melanie crawled into bed and woke me with her hand on my crotch. I grunted and rolled over onto my stomach. I wonder if she felt guilty. Thankfully, the rest of the week was back to normal. No initiation on her part or mine. It had been almost 4 months. I could hold out 2.5 more weeks. On Tuesday, I went to work and talked with Brad. I wanted to take some vacation time today and tomorrow, I said. I've got a lot still to do, he said. Okay, let me know if I can help. I went home and pulled out all the photos, cards, birthday, Christmas, anniversary, also the baby pictures, and even the hospital bills. These would make a great Christmas present for Melanie. She'd have happy memories. Then I'd hit her with the flowers collage picture and have the divorce papers served. The first thing in the photo album would be the receipt from the jewelry store for $1,000. It was a lot back then, it still is, but it doesn't seem like as much. Next would be the honeymoon pictures, Niagara Falls. Not a whole lot of pictures from there, we didn't get out of the hotel room much. Maybe when KJ and I go to Cornell, we go through Canada and visit the falls. Melanie won't be with me this time. Next in the photo album would be a picture of our first apartment. We weren't in there long, we had to buy a house when we found out about KJ coming along. Next were photos from our first vacation when we drove to see her folks in California. What a long trip, but I enjoyed the drive with my new bride. We had stopped at the Grand Canyon, saw the lights of Las Vegas, drove through Death Valley, and got to her parents' house 4 days later. They would be flying in on December 20th this year, just in time to deal with the fallout of this photo album. I thought about that first vacation. Somewhere along the way, across America, we conceived KJ. It was a great trip. Oh, to be back there, happy with a loyal, wild wife. Next, I would include pictures of her while she was pregnant. For a short woman, she really had a belly on her. I loved pregnant Melanie. She was so loving and needy, but I loved every minute of it. She was having our baby. Then I wanted to include the hospital bill. Insurance picked up most of it, but we did have some out-of-pocket expenses. I didn't care, whatever it took to get my baby into this world. I started reading the bills. Wow, there sure were a lot of costs. Then I saw something that almost stopped my heart: tubal ligation on a separate bill ordered on August 8th. That is a month before KJ was born. Why? Who ordered it? What the hell? I had to find out. I couldn't go talk to the doctor. She had passed away in a car accident 15 years ago. Who could I ask? There were 2 other doctors in her practice. Maybe one of them could shed light on this. I grabbed the bill, got in my car, and drove to the OB/GYN office. Melanie still used the same practice even after her doctor had died. I walked calmly into the office and asked to see the person that handled the billing. An elderly woman of around 60 came out to talk with me. I asked if we could review some old bills. Sure, she said. Let me get your wife's file, they should all be in there. Before we look at these, I have to see if you have authorization to view them. Can I see your driver's license? I showed it to her, and she found the form authorizing me to my wife's medical information. HIPAA privacy laws, you know. Luckily, my wife and I had authorization for each other just in case there was a problem. Well, this could be a huge problem. Could we review the bills from when she gave birth to KJ Jane? Sure, that would be toward the back of the file. We just add more recent ones to the front. She found the bills for the delivery. I told her they decided after about 10 hours of labor to take KJ by C-section. She hadn't turned yet, so they were worried. At least that is what they told me while I was in the waiting room. The billing nurse was reviewing the bills when she inhaled sharply. I questioned her, "What did you find?" "Well, Mr. Vainel, you should talk with your wife about this. Let me see the paperwork. I have every right, and you are bound by law to make copies for me if I request them." I grabbed the paperwork from her. When I mentioned the law, there it was: the C-section and tubal ligation were planned a month ahead of time. It was ordered by the doctor at my wife's request. I need copies of all this paperwork. I will be back in 2 hours to pick them up, I said as I stood to leave. Okay, so. I will have them ready for you. Oh my God, it's been alive for over 17 years. She knew I wanted at least one more baby. I wanted a boy, but if it was another girl, I'd love her just the same. She took that chance from me. I was enraged. I didn't want to drive in my state of rage. I might kill someone. I just took off walking. I looked at my watch. I needed to be back here by 4:30 to pick up the copies. I wandered around and just thought. I don't know where the 2 hours went or where I went, but at 4:30 I was back to get the copies. They had them in a manila envelope for me, waiting at the front desk. I drove home and went right to the basement. I knew that I couldn't be around Melanie right now. Now, I would want to kill her. I needed to be away from her. I would go back to the hotel and lay low for the next week. I'd go to work, but then right back to the hotel. I went back upstairs, bringing a suitcase up with me. Melanie was in the kitchen. She had just gotten home. "Honey," I said, "I'm going to be on the road for the next week. The owners want me to troubleshoot the other plants and then visit the customers that have experienced issues in the last 6 months. So, I guess Jack was right, there are problems at your job. I told you so, she said snidely. I went upstairs. If I said anything, I would blow up. I had to get out of there. I put as much clothes as I could in my suitcase. I could buy socks and underwear later. I grabbed my toiletries and closed my suitcase. I walked downstairs. KJ was just getting home. KJ, I said, I'm going to be on the road for a week or so, but if you need anything, just call me. She looked at me, she could tell something was wrong and that I was pissed. We'll miss you, Dad, but I'm sure you'll get it all straightened out. Thanks, sweetheart, I said as I hugged her. I remembered all the photos and other paperwork downstairs, so I said, oh, I need to go down and grab my carry-on. I headed downstairs and put all the photos and paperwork in the carry-on and hid the laptop. I came back and hugged KJ, saying to Melanie, I have to be to the airport by 7, I'll leave my car in long-term parking. I'll call you when I check into the hotel. Then I walked out the front door. I drove into Detroit and got a hotel room at an Extended Stay America. Nice room with a kitchenette. I could camp out here for a week or so, though. I put my clothes away and sat in the chair. My whole world was falling apart. I can't believe that just a month or so ago, I was happy and clueless. I sat there for I don't know how long. Melanie had purposely gotten the C-section to cover up the tubal ligation. She had planned it at least a month before. She had faked her contractions so she could be in the hospital on the prearranged day for the C-section. They had made me wait in the waiting room for hours, they wouldn't let me watch. I couldn't believe it. Wow, I guess I am clueless. Should I just go back home and confront Melanie? I knew if I did, I would get out of control. I may even get violent. I've never hit a woman before, but I don't know what would happen. I was seething. I needed to just calm down. I was going to need to stick to the plan, at least for the next week or so. I wouldn't have to look at her. I would need to talk to Brad first thing in the morning. I would want him to call the plant manager in London. I would like to go see the facility. I was sure I would want to get out of the country. I didn't want Melanie to be able to find me. My phone rang. I looked at the caller ID, it was KJ. I also noticed it was almost 10 o'clock. Wow, I had been sitting there for almost 4 hours. I answered the phone, hello, KJ, sorry I had to leave so suddenly. What did she do, Dad? I could tell you were mad, you didn't even hug Mom or wait for her reply to you telling her you were leaving. It's worse than I thought. KJ, where are you at? Can she overhear you? No, Dad, I told her I had to run over to Kelly's to get something I had forgot. I'm in the car at the park, where are you? I'm at a hotel downtown, closer to work. So you weren't going out of town, she asked. No, honey, I had to get out of the house, away from her. So what happened? I was going through the old photos and paperwork from our whole marriage, and I found the hospital bills from your birth. I was going to include them in the photo album for her Christmas present. I was reviewing them and found out that your mom had ordered the C-section for your birth and, along with that, she had ordered that her tubes be tied. I never had a chance to have another baby, boy or girl. Oh, Dad, I'm so sorry. Maybe you should forget all your plans for Christmas and just confront her now and end it. I can't come home now, KJ. If I did, I might kill her, that is how mad I am. I need a few days to cool off. I'm sorry I'm putting you in the middle of this. You know, KJ, that we both love you, this has nothing to do with you. So what are you going to do for the next week? Are you going to go to work like nothing is happening? I will go into work tomorrow and talk to my boss, he knows about the situation. And I will probably take some time off and visit a couple of our other plants. I'll look for a transfer. You can't tell your mom anything, she needs to believe I got fired. Oh, Dad, I can't believe you are going to be leaving me. KJ, I'm not leaving you, and I'm not leaving right away, this will take a bit of time. You know, you can always call me and talk. To me every night if you want to. It won't be the same, Dad. No, it won't, but we'll make it work. I love you, KJ. I love you too, Dad. Well, you better get back home now. Please try not to give Mom any reason to worry, okay? Dad, I'll call you tomorrow night. Bye, honey. I hung up with tears in my eyes. In the morning, I went into work to talk to Brad. I wanted to let him know what I had found out. I also wanted him to call the plant manager in London to see if I could do a preliminary walkthrough and meeting with him. I also told him that I would like to be fired on the 15th. He told me that he had spoken with the CEO of the company about my situation and was told that I could be fired and after the divorce proceedings be hired in London, keeping all my seniority. I would need to assure them in writing that I would work for the London location for at least 3 years. I told Brad that they were being very generous and that I would give my all to this company, no matter where I worked. I know you will, Kurt. In fact, I hope you will come back here as soon as you can work it out after those 3 years. You know, I would like to. I have enjoyed all the years I've spent here. I walked out of there sad yet happy, sad because I was leaving here and happy that I work for such an excellent company. That evening, I was packing for my visit to London when my daughter called me. Hello, Dad, how are you doing? I'm doing okay, honey. How are you? Are you okay? Have you been able to hold yourself together? I'm fine, Dad. Mom said you didn't call her last night. I think you should call her tonight if you're up to it. I'd better, sorry about that, I forgot. Guess what? Mom got a call from Mrs. Anderson today. Troubles just keep mounting up for them. Jasmine has an STD. Oh my God, I know KJ said that Jasmine had an unnatural obsession with her dad, but could she have gotten it from him? Does she have a boyfriend that gave it to her? I asked. Mom said that Mrs. Anderson said she doesn't. Did she know who gave it to her? I asked. She won't say who gave it to her. She said the boy may not know that he's got it. She has to tell him. Also, if she has slept with anyone else, they will have to be told. I told her she has only slept with one guy. She said, KJ, maybe you need to talk to her. She is going to need a friend, and maybe you can help her to talk to the guy that gave it to her. Wow, I thought that a-hole KJ did say Jasmine was obsessed with Jack. Maybe now we know why. When the whole truth comes out, that will destroy that family. I hated to hear that for Mary's sake. She was a good woman, she didn't deserve this. See what you can find out, KJ, be there for her. I told her I will. Dad, I'm going to visit another plant tomorrow, so I will probably be out of town for a couple of days. If you need me, you can call me, though, okay, Dad? Safe travels, don't forget to call Mom. She said, I will, KJ, I love you. I love you too, Dad. I hung up and thought for a minute. I needed to get my mind right to call Melanie. I would make it a short call, let her know that I was still alive. I would try not to show my anger with her. I dialed her number. Hi honey, sorry I forgot to call you last night, I got in late. That's okay, honey, I know you are worried about your job. Are you going to be able to fix the problems? She asked. I'd better, they're counting on me, I told her. I know you'll be able to do it, you are great at taking care of issues, she said. Yes, I am, I thought to myself. I will be taking care of our issues in a way that will surprise her. I'm pretty beat, Melanie, I'll call you again tomorrow night, I said. Okay, honey, sleep tight, she said. The next day, I drove the 2.5 hours to London. I toured the plant and sat down and talked with the plant manager. He seemed like a great guy. It was mid-afternoon when I left the plant and decided that I would head to the Canadian capital. That would be something to cross off my bucket list. It would take me about 7 hours to get there. When I arrived, I got a hotel room and called Melanie. It was about 10 o'clock. Hi, honey, sorry to call so late, I just got to the hotel. It's been a long day. That's okay, honey, I'm glad you called. Anyway, did you fix anything? Not yet, but I talked with the plant manager, and we have a plan, I assured her.
Are you coming home this weekend?
No, I'll probably be gone until at least Wednesday.
I'll miss you.
I thought to myself, you'll have all weekend and into next week to screw your lover, I'll be home before you know it. I had to keep her on her toes, make her worry if I'd come home and find her with Jack. Call me, and I'll make sure to have your favorite dinner ready for you.
Yeah, you want a warning call?
I thought that would be great.
I'm beat again, I'll call you Sunday, okay?
That will be okay, I'll talk to you then. I hung up and called KJ. Hi Dad, I'm just driving home from being out with Jasmine right now, can I call you tomorrow? Sure, honey, I'll talk to you then. I love you, Dad. Love you too, KJ, good night. I hung up and went right to bed, I was beat. Driving takes a lot out of me. The next morning, I headed to the capital. It got me excited to fulfill my goal. I would be traveling a lot soon. About 6 o'clock, I got a call from KJ. Hi, Dad, sorry I couldn't talk with you last night. No problem, KJ, I hope you could help Jasmine. I don't know, Dad, she didn't want to talk very much about it, she was scared. I'm sure she is.
Did she tell you about the guy she got it from?
She said she has only been with one guy, but she wouldn't say anything about him, she was really defensive. She wondered if there was any way she could have gotten it some other way than from him, KJ said. I want you to know my suspicions. I think her dad may have given her the STD. Don't say anything to her that you suspect this, but be ready if she starts to open up. If that is the case, then your mother probably has too. Oh, Dad, I hate Mom right now. Honey, 2 more weeks, then we'll be on the road to Cornell, and your grandparents will handle your mom. I'm not sure what they will say or do, but they'll help her through this, you know that. When we come back, I will be getting an apartment to live in, I can't live with her anymore after that. You don't think you can get past this, Dad? Honey, what I learned about the tubal ligation totally destroyed any chance of that. I know kids don't want their parents to divorce, but you're not a kid anymore. Thanks, Dad, I still feel like I'm your little girl. You always will be, KJ, I love you, Dad. I love you too, KJ, call me tomorrow, Dad. I will, KJ, bye now. Bye, Dad. The next morning, I drove back to Detroit. I got a hotel room and bought a case of beer. I had nothing planned except a phone call to KJ. I called KJ. Hi, Dad, where are you at today? I'm back in town, I'm just going to relax in my hotel room tonight. Can we do something together tomorrow? She asked. Sure, honey, what do you want to do? After church, I'd like to grab lunch, then go fowling. What? I asked. Fowling, Dad, it's a combination of football and bowling, they play it in Hamtramck. You could teach me how to throw a football, we could talk, and I could tell you what I found out from Jasmine. I'm pretty sure I won't run into anyone we know in Hamtramck, so that should be okay. We made plans on where and when to meet, and I said goodbye. Then I broke open the case of beer. I wouldn't drink too much tonight, I didn't want a hangover when I met up with KJ tomorrow. I started thinking about Jasmine. I felt bad for her, I thought my revenge would be limited to Jack and Melanie and possibly Mary, but never did I think that Jasmine would be involved. What a mess. Sunday I spent the day with KJ, she told me that Jasmine had told her she had chlamydia. I told her that I was sure that Jack had it also, that about clinched it. How do you know that, Dad? Let's just say that I know someone that he slept with that had it. Well, that kind of fits with what I thought, Dad. Jasmine said she loves the guy that she slept with and would never tell who. She knew that they would never get married, but it didn't matter, she loved him anyways. Let's just forget about all of that for a while and have fun, I said. Sounds good, Dad. So we enjoyed our time together, I learned a new sport and it was quite fun. We went out to dinner and then she went home and I went back to the hotel. I called Melanie and then went to sleep. The next 3 days, I concentrated on getting loose ends tied up at work. I started parceling out all my projects to other engineers. They were a little confused, but that would all be explained shortly. Wednesday night, I went home. I had come to terms with the fact of her deceit for all these years. I could be in the same room and even bed with her and show no emotion. I knew it was only for another week and a half. Melanie seemed glad to see me. So, how are things at the other plants? Did you get them straightened out? I don't know, I hope so. I did my best, I told her. Do we have to worry? She asked. I don't know, I said, let her worry. I went to bed shortly after dinner. Melanie didn't even question my going to bed so early, nor did she try to initiate anything. I guess everything was back to normal. Thursday, I went at work and continued to wrap things up. A number of my co-workers noticed things were odd and wondered if I wanted to go grab a drink after work. Tomorrow night would be better, I told them. At home, I started paying bills. I wrote the checks out. Yes, I still wrote checks to pay the bills. I didn't like doing the online pay thing. Then I asked Melanie the question that would come back to bite her. What do you think? Should we send $1,000 to each of our charities this year? I knew what her response would be. 1,000? I don't know. Okay, 50 or 75, I countered, not wanting to be outdone and sound cheap. Let's do 100, she said. Okay, we'll do. I knew what she was thinking. I just saved us $2,700 from what we were going to send. That will buy me 4 purses and 6 pairs of shoes. So I wrote the checks, $100 each to Planned Parenthood, SPCA, and Wounded Warrior Project. I smiled. That was going to come back to screw her in just like Jack did. Then I said to her, I'm going to be late coming home tomorrow, so don't hold dinner for me. A few of the guys want to go out for a few drinks after work. Okay, honey, thanks for letting me know. Maybe I'll do something with Mary then. I should be home by 9 o'clock or maybe a little later, she said. Hey, did you find out what time your parents were flying in next Saturday? Yeah, their flight arrives at 3 o'clock, she said. I think I'd like to do our family's Christmas before they arrive, if that's okay with you. That way, we can just enjoy our time with your parents and not worry about presents under the tree. I'm behind with the Christmas decorations. I'll have to spend all day tomorrow putting them up. That is okay with me. I'll have to finish up my Christmas shopping tomorrow, then. I won't have time on Saturday. I'll be at work. I'll have them all done by the time you get home, I replied. That would be great, honey. A little while later, we went to bed. I smiled as I laid down. My plans were coming together. Friday, I went out to the bar with my co-workers. They didn't know it would be the last time I did that. Saturday morning, I got up and started writing on the Christmas decorations. I was putting up lights, thinking about Christmas. I'd be spending it with the greatest gift I've ever received, my KJ. Why did Melanie have to rob me of any more gifts like that? I put up the decorations with tears in my eyes. Now, I'm not Clark Griswold, but I do have a lot of decorations. It took me until 4 o'clock, everything was up, including the tree, fake, of course. It wouldn't be right to kill a tree every year just for a month. I stood back and smiled a sad smile. This would be the last time I would be doing this, well, for the foreseeable future at least. I had an hour or so until Melanie got home, so I decided, while I had the time and the weather cooperated, I would give the lawn one last mow before winter hit. Actually, it would be my last time mowing this lawn. It would also get the last of the leaves out of the yard, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It was getting a little chilly out, so I went in and put on my Cornell College sweatshirt. Anytime that I can get a little dig into Melanie about our good times, I would. As I was finishing up, Melanie came home. I pulled the mower into the garage and thought about the good times at Cornell. They were all tainted now by what she had done to us. I emptied the gas and the oil from the lawn mower in preparation for storing it for the winter. I decided to use my sweatshirt to clean up the mower. I didn't care if I got oil on it. I planned on burning it anyways. As I was standing by the fire pit burning some trash, tree limbs, and my sweatshirt, Melanie came out. As she walked up to the fire, she said, "Can we order takeout? I'm not feeling well, I think I have a UTI." I smiled and said, "Sure, what do you want?" Then she noticed the sweatshirt in the fire. "Is that your Cornell sweatshirt? Why are you burning it?" "Yeah, I got oil all over it, so I figured I'd just burn it with the yard waste." "That's too bad, I know you love that sweatshirt. We'll have to get you a new one. So, do you want me to order pizza or something else?" "Pizza is fine, I'll order it, clean up, and go pick it up." I took out my phone and called the local pizza joint. I went into the house with a cheery smile on my face. She thinks she has a UTI. I'll wait until she goes to the doctor. I changed my clothes, then took off to pick up the pizza, whistling as I went out the door. I wonder what would happen when she got the news from her doctor that she had chlamydia. Would she put 2 and 2 together and realize what happened to Jasmine? I know she isn't good at math, but she could certainly figure that out. The pizza tasted especially hot and good that night. It must have been the extra spice of revenge. I liked it hot, not cold like some people. Monday found me in the office, smile on my face. "You look like the cat that ate the canary," Brad told me. Sometimes, plans just work out, not necessarily exactly how you expect them to, but good nonetheless. "What's so good?" Brad asked. "The shit's about to hit the fan in the Anderson household. Remind me to never get on your bad side. Today is my last day, Brad. I won't be around for you to get on my bad side," I joked. "I can't believe you want me to fire you 10 days before Christmas." "It's all part of the plan. You were trying to save the company, and I'm the 3rd highest paid person here. They wouldn't fire you or the CFO. So, I have to go. That is what the other employees will have to be told. They'll work even harder for you, at least for a while." "You're devious, Kurt. What kind of a severance package do you want? 3 months' wages plus accumulated vacation and personal days?" Brad said. "Thanks, Brad, you're a true friend. So, when do you want to start in London? Would March 1st be too long?" "That should work fine. I'm going to hate to lose you. Hopefully, you'll be back soon." "It all depends on the divorce, Brad. Either way, you know I am only a phone call away, and I can come back on an emergency consulting basis. That may happen more often than you think." I left work after packing my stuff and walking out the door with a box of my stuff in my hands. I sullenly said goodbye to the few employees I saw on my way out. I got home earlier than normal, but Melanie didn't say much. She was deep in thought. I figured it would take at least a day to get the results from any test they had to run. She must have at least been told she didn't have a UTI. I figured now would be a great time to tell her that I had been laid off. "Honey, we need to talk." "Has there ever been good news given after those words?" She looked up, concerned. "What is it?" "I got laid off today." I let that sink in. "Oh no, what are we going to do?" she exclaimed. "Well, I'll get my resume together, I'll put it out there, but don't expect any activity until after the 1st of the year. It will just be like a little vacation," I said with a smile on my face. "Why are you so happy?" she questioned. "How are we going to survive? You should probably put together a resume too. We may need you to get a real job." I swear I could see her get visibly sick. "We've got some money in our bank account. We should be okay for a few months," I assured her. "So, what do you want to do for dinner tonight? Can we order takeout again? I'm still not feeling good." "What did the doctor say? Another UTI?" "No, she's running some tests. I should know something in a couple of days." "So, Chinese again tonight," she said. "Okay, I'll order it for 6 o'clock. Will KJ be home tonight?" "She should be. We'll need to tell her about your job." "I'm going to lie down until dinner." I went downstairs and started packing up more of my stuff. Saturday would be here before I knew it. At dinner, we informed KJ about my job. She acted surprised, then gave me a knowing look while Melanie went to get some soy sauce. Tuesday I spent the day online. Melanie thought I was job hunting when in fact I was planning my travels to the different state capitals. I also spent time doing things around the house that I had been putting off. I was really just trying to avoid Melanie. Wednesday morning, Melanie got a call from her doctor. She wanted her to come in right away. I smiled as she left the house. She would get the terrible news, and I would be happy all the rest of the day. I called Melanie while she was at the doctor's. I told her I was going to go out and run some errands, so I wouldn't be home till about dinner. When I got home, Melanie was in bed. She told me she had a bug and that the doctor had given her some medicine and told her to get plenty of rest. I went down to the basement and checked out the computer, hoping to catch a phone conversation. "Jack, you a-hole, you gave me an STD." "Yes, I know it was you. Unlike you, I don't sleep with people that could give me an STD." "Well, I guess that is wrong." "I did, you're the only one." "No, Kurt didn't give it to me. I haven't slept with him since, well, I can't remember when. August, I guess." "You're the only one, Jack." "I guess you can't say the same thing." "Does Mary know?" "Well, I hate to even ask this question, but what about Jasmine?" "So, you're saying that she got it from the toilet seat?" "That's not what she told Mary." "Face it, Jack, you screwed up, and it may destroy your family. If I were you, I'd get a lawyer because when Mary puts 2 and 2 together, your bum is grass. You'll be lucky if she just divorces you." "Never. I wouldn't divorce Kurt and marry you. Why would I want to marry a cheater? You're my only one, Jack, and I've learned my lesson. Never again. You'd better hope Kurt never finds out. He'll kill you, then probably me. Goodbye." Well, she learned, but too late. It is all over but the crying. She'll be the one crying this time. Only 3 days left. The saying goes, take your small victories where you can get them. I kept saying it to myself. This was a big victory though. This one would hopefully teach her a lesson for life. I got into Yahoo Mail and created a fake email address. I was going to warn Mary. I wouldn't send her the video, but I would send her an email. It read, "Jack has it too. Let her figure it out. Let her investigate." I went back upstairs and started to go through some of the souvenirs and knickknacks. I only kept a couple. She could have the rest. I would take the souvenirs from the Grand Canyon and Vegas. After that, the only thing I wanted to keep that held positive memories for me was KJ. Everything else was tainted by the lie. I threw some steaks on the grill, and KJ and I ate together. Melanie never came down. I told KJ that Mom got some bad news from the doctor. She knew exactly what I meant. Thursday found me looking at apartments. I found one that suited me fine. They were even willing to do a month-to-month lease, provided I paid an extra $100 per month. Of course, I agreed. I started to move some of my stuff from the basement. I would have to wait on the rest of my clothes till Saturday. When I got home, Mary was sitting on our couch, head in her hands, crying her eyes out to Melanie. I mouthed the words to Melanie, "What's wrong, acting innocent?" "Jack," she mouthed back. I walked out of the room, smiling to myself, another win. I told Melanie I would take KJ out for dinner so they could have time alone. I could see the guilt on Melanie's face, another win. KJ and I grabbed dinner at a seafood place. We talked about Jasmine, Jack, and Mom having chlamydia. Then KJ asked me, "Do you have it too, Dad?" I told her that her mother and I hadn't made love in about 4 months, so no, I didn't have it. She looked at me, shocked. "Really? For months, Dad?" "This is hard to talk about with my daughter, but you're a mature young woman, and I think we can keep it, clinical, I guess the word would be. Your mom and I used to have a good sex life. Then you were born, and she didn't want it anymore. It was not your fault, so don't think that. Well, I had to initiate it every time. Well, that was until July 4th. We got home, and your mother initiated. I was overjoyed. I didn't realize it at the time, but that was the beginning of her affair with Mr. Anderson. I think she felt guilty. We did it a few more times over the next month, but again, I had to initiate. Since August, nothing. Oh, I'm so sorry, Dad. So am I, KJ, about the whole thing. You're a strong person, you'll get through this. Don't be too hard on your mom, she is going to need you in the next few months. What are you going to do? She asked. Well, today I rented an apartment and have already taken stuff from the basement over there. That way, after we visit Cornell this weekend, I'll have some place to go. You'll go back home to your mom and your grandparents, you'll finish out your senior year, enjoy your summer, and then go to Cornell in the fall. Don't worry about me, we'll be talking on the phone all the time. I can stop by every day. I may not be there very long, in fact, my plan is to move by March 1st. In the meantime, I'm going to be traveling. She started to cry, which made me cry. KJ, I love you, remember that, no matter what happens, I love you. That just made her cry more. We were making a spectacle of ourselves in the restaurant, and I didn't care. After dinner, we drove around and thought happy thoughts. I didn't want to come into the house with tears in our eyes, I didn't want to give anything away to Melanie. Mary had left, Melanie said she was going home to tell Jack to pack his things and leave. I told Mary that if things got too bad tonight, she could come back here and stay the night. I hope that's okay. Sure, honey, no problem. This was a little bit like the movie we saw. Funny how life imitates art sometimes. I hope for Melanie's sake that Mary never finds out that the other woman is her. Now would be a perfect time to send another anonymous email, but that would wreck my plans, so I'll have to wait on that. Mary did come over, Jack refused to leave. What did he have to lose? Mary would go see a divorce lawyer tomorrow. I thought about giving her the name of my lawyer, but thought better of it. Again, I didn't want to wreck my plans. I went to bed, leaving them to talk. I was thinking to myself, London, Ontario, will get me out of the country, and if I knew my wife, which I thought I did, she would probably move back to California as soon as KJ graduates. That would put an entire continent between us and only a 5-hour drive to see KJ at Cornell. Awesome. I didn't want to be a pest, but I'd see her at least once a month. I hope she didn't mind. I put my phone on the charger, turned over, and went to sleep. Friday morning, I did some honeydos around the house. I wouldn't miss the house, it was Melanie's too big and impersonal for me. I would miss the memories though, we had spent the last 10 years in this house. I told Melanie I had to run some errands and left. I called the lawyer to ensure that we were set for serving the next day at 4 o'clock. I need it done at 4 o'clock on the dot, I said. No problem, it was already set up. Then I swung by the florist. I went in with my collage of Melanie and Jack in hand. I asked the person behind the counter if I could see the delivery. She took it out of the cooler. She lifted the lid off the box. Perfect. 17 red roses in a circle around the full-bloom black rose in the center. I took the lid and asked for some double-sided tape and put the collage in the lid. Then I covered it lightly with tissue paper, leaving a corner open so she would notice when she looked under the lid. I made sure the card said, 17 good, 1 bad, look under the lid. Then I made sure they knew that it was to be delivered precisely at 3:55 tomorrow afternoon. They assured me that it would be. I paid the bill with the extra delivery charge. Then I told the woman that I wouldn't be there to give the driver a tip, so if she could give the driver a tip when they returned, I'd appreciate it. I handed her a 20, then went back home. That night, I slept like a baby. I woke up at 8 o'clock and got to make a big home-style breakfast. KJ was already down and had started the coffee. I took out eggs, waffle mix, bacon, ham, sausage, biscuits, and gravy. I was going all out. It took me over an hour, but we finally sat down to eat. Eat till you're full, you never know where your next meal is coming from was an expression my dad used to say. KJ always got a kick out of that. This time, I think it hit home to Melanie. We sat around and relaxed after breakfast. I told them that I would be grilling steaks for lunch around 2 o'clock. I wanted to just relax today, spending time as a family because family is what's important, especially this time of year, especially this year. I told them, and we all talked about past Christmases. It was bittersweet going down memory lane with them. At 1:15, I turned the oven on and put 3 big baked potatoes and a sweet potato casserole to cook. I started the grill up around 1:45 and threw 3 big porterhouse steaks on. I then went in and started making us each a salad. KJ came in the kitchen and said, "Let me do that, Dad, you go watch the grill." "Thanks, KJ, you're the best." I stood in front of the grill, reviewing my life. Bittersweet was a good word for it. We ate lunch and just continued to enjoy each other's company. At around 3 o'clock, we went into the living room and started opening the presents. We always save the big ones for last. My presents were the usual socks, underwear, pants, shirts, everything a guy needs. They had also gotten some of that, but KJ had gotten a lot of extra presents from both her mom and me. Then I gave a present to KJ. She opened it, a new, slightly used laptop computer, wiped clean, of course. "This should last you at least through your first year at Cornell," I said. "Thanks, Dad," KJ said. Next, Melanie presented me with a box. The fact that there was a card attached made me wonder what it could possibly be. I removed it from its packaging and read the following: "To the best husband in the world, I hope you can use this." What I found when I opened it was a brand new briefcase. Now, my previous one was somewhere around 18 years old. As I thanked her and smiled, I said, "I certainly can." After that, I presented her with the gift that I had prepared for her. It was the photo album scrapbook that she opened the box to find inside. Taking a look at it, she opened the front cover of the book. A note that I had written inside read, "Our time together." When I first started adding pictures to the book, the first one I included was of the algebra book that had brought us together. There was still a copy of it on the bookcase. After that, there were photographs of us beginning our relationship, our diplomas, the receipt for our engagement ring, the reception for our wedding, our honeymoon, our first apartment, and our first trip to California. My caption read, "KJ was conceived somewhere along the way." I had included this statement. Pregnant pictures, pictures of the first baby, pictures for birthday cards and party pictures, pictures of the first home, vacations, Disney World, pictures of the second house, pictures of the first 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 house, pictures. In the process of reliving the memories, she was taking her time. I told KJ, "Let's clean up this mess," KJ, to which he responded. We went back inside after collecting all of the wrappings and packaging, delivering her gifts to her room and mine to the car, and then giving her the gifts. When I looked at my watch precisely at the right moment, it was 3:54. Turning the final page, she found that it was blank with the exception of a caption that read, "To be added in 5 minutes." At that precise moment, the doorbell rang. "Can you get the door, Melanie?" I stated that. During the time that she was turning to answer it, I turned around and walked out of the house to my vehicle. KJ was the one who followed behind. The box of flowers was given to her by the florist and presented to her. When she opened the box, she discovered that there was 1 black rose and 17 red roses. Subsequently, she took the card in her hand and read it. The lid was turned over, and she examined the tissue paper that was inside. As a result of her pulling on it, it frayed. Then she looked at the photograph. She focused her attention on the picture for a moment because she was unable to figure out what it was depicting. It was possible for me to see her face turning white even from the driveway. Upon raising her head, she noticed a woman coming closer. A woman approached me and asked, "Are you Melanie Van Hal?" Yes, I sure am," she responded. "You have been served." At the same time, she presented her with a card and a manila envelope. She carefully unfolded the card. "To my wife of 18.5 years, H is for honor, E is for emotions, A is for adoration, R is for respect, T is for trust, L is for lies, I is for infidelity, HEART, plus I is equal to D." She passed out, and the person who was serving the process called 911. We waved and then drove away. The next section of the story is comprised of information that I gathered from various sources, including friends, neighbors, her parents, lawyers, and in some cases, my own speculation. Melanie was able to be brought back to life with the help of smelling salts when the ambulance arrived. They checked all of her vital signs and then inquired as to whether or not she desired to be taken to the hospital. She responded with a negative. While they were leaving, her parents arrived in their vehicle. Since they were curious about what had transpired, they made a beeline for the house. The contents of the manila envelope were partially exposed when they discovered Melanie sitting on the couch with the envelope lying next to her on the floor. What exactly took place, Melanie? During the time that her father was picking up the envelope, her mother asked, "Are you okay?" "Miss Marge, Kurt has filed for divorce," he informed her. "Melanie, what happened?" After taking a look around, they discovered the photo album located inside the flower box. The photograph album was picked up by her mother, who then began to flip through the pages. The mother told her daughter, "Why, this is wonderful, honey," as she remarked. After picking up the bouquet of flowers, her father first pointed out the black rose, and then he noticed the card. While he was looking around, he discovered the lid tucked away beneath the coffee table. As he heaved a sigh, his wife turned her gaze toward him. Her eyes widened as she looked at the lid of the container. By turning her attention to Melanie, she exclaimed, "You didn't." Suddenly, Melanie burst into tears. All of the items were gathered together and brought to the table in the kitchen together. They arranged everything in such a way that the lid was turned over so that no one could see the advertisement. Her mother said, "You two can get past this, but it is going to take a great deal of effort on your part, Melanie." Her father then removed the papers from the manila envelope while her mother continued to speak. Her father then made the following statement, "I don't think they can get past it, dear." She shifted her gaze to look at him. After opening the envelope, he took out a piece of paper that appeared to be an old hospital bill. Then he turned his attention to his daughter and said, "After the cesarean section, you had your tubes tied, Melanie." Suddenly, her eyes widened, and she screamed before passing out once more. With a cool towel that was damp, her mother placed it on her daughter's head. When she came to, she appeared to be deserted. She was told by her father, "Melanie, you are my daughter, and I will always love you, but at this moment, you are not my favorite person. Either you cheated on your partner or you got the tubes tied. I find it hard to believe that you did that to your marriage." There is a possibility that he was able to forgive the affair. Women tend to behave in peculiar ways as they get closer to the age of 40. The man looked at his wife, but she averted her gaze. However, under no circumstances would he be able to forgive you for having your tubes tied without his knowledge. It is important to remember, Marge, that he desired to have at least one more child. After years of trying, she finally managed to take that away from him. From the moment Kaylee was born, she has been living with this deception. Once they had finished going over the divorce paperwork, her father asked her, "Could this possibly be correct? The net worth of your household is approximately $65,000. The statement that Melanie made to her father was, "No way, Dad, we have investments, cash in the bank, 401k, and the house. We ought to have a net worth that is greater than $600,000. However, that is not what this indicates. It is likely that he is concealing money. It is necessary for us to hire a lawyer and investigate the location of the funds." They proceeded in that manner. A court summons was issued to me at the end of January, and I had to return from a trip that I had taken to the Western region. In front of the judge, I was accompanied by my attorney. According to the attorney, this is one of the liberal judges. She almost always sides with the woman in divorce cases. I was told this by the attorney. In reviewing the account statements from the 1st of November, your net worth in home equity, investments, savings, and 401k were over $600,000. She asked me in a direct and direct manner. "You mentioned that the net worth is approximately $65,000 in the draft of the divorce proposal that you have submitted. The question is, how do you explain the difference?" "Your Honor, those $250,000 were used to prepay my daughter's tuition at Cornell University, which will begin this fall. The sum is now reduced to $350,000 as a result of this." At a total of $300,000, I made contributions of $100,000 each to two of my wife's favorite charities and one of my own favorite charities. This results in a net worth of approximately $65,000. I have enclosed all of the receipts and checks that have been cancelled, Your Honor. My attorney came up to her and handed them over to her. I went on to say, of course, the $65,000 is just an estimate, and it is contingent upon what we manage to get out of our house. Automobiles and other personal belongings are the remaining assets, and they have all been paid off. I am the one who keeps my car, while she keeps hers. Are you trying to tell me that you donated $300,000 to a charitable endeavor? The judge inquired, have you discussed it with her beforehand, and what charities are you referring to? It is true that I had a conversation with her on the 11th of December, which was also the day that I wrote the checks. My wife and I were sitting in the kitchen when I asked her, how much would you like to donate to our favorite charities this year, honey? I was in the process of paying the bills at the time. 1,000, she stated clearly. I responded with no, and then I asked, what, $50 or $75? After that, she returned with the statement, no, let's do $100. That is exactly what I did. I wrote 3 checks, one for the amount of $100,000 to Planned Parenthood, one for the amount of $100,000 to the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and one for the amount of $100,000 to the Wounded Warrior Project. When it comes to our finances, my wife is very generous. I meant $100, not $100,000, my wife yelled out in a loud enough voice. Planned Parenthood and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals were 2 of her favorite charities. She could not tell them to give it back, the judge said to me. Although the Wounded Warrior Project was not one of her favorites, it was very important to a significant number of voters, and she was unable to participate in any way with regard to that particular issue. It was then that Melanie yelled out in a loud voice, he gave me an STD. I said in a controlled and angry tone, Your Honor, I have never had a sexually transmitted disease, STD, nor have I ever had sex with anyone who could have given me an STD. This was before the judge could provide any further commentary. If you want to know if my wife is able to say the same thing, you might want to ask her. It appears that she had communicated with Jack after I had sent the email wishing him a Merry Christmas, in which I had stated, Merry Christmas, I hope you liked your present. Among the pictures that I included was one of him with the housewife hooker. After that, I put my signature on it, KVH. Infidelity is not a factor in this court proceeding, and it is not a reason for divorce in this state. Thanks for your attention, sir. The reason we are here is to find out where the money might have gone. It is common for a divorce judgment to include a provision stating that the child's educational expenses will be paid for. You have already fulfilled this obligation. My attorney stood up and said, I am unable to force the charitable organizations to return the funds, therefore, I will divide the $65,000 between the 2 of you and, in addition, I will add spousal support of $40,000 per year for a period of 3 years in order to give your wife the opportunity to find adequate employment. I am writing to inform you that my client is currently without work. He was laid off just before Christmas, and he has been unable to find a job that pays him a living in this state. He has broadened his search to include additional states, but he has not yet found any success. Therefore, we are requesting that he be exempt from receiving financial assistance until he is able to secure employment in this state or any other state. So be it, spousal support to commence upon employment in this state or any other, ending in 3 years, the judge concluded his sentence. I couldn't help but smile to myself, thinking that she hadn't mentioned anything about another nation. Your Honor, my attorney said, yes, she inquired, at this time, would it be possible for us to obtain a judgment regarding the divorce? Are both parties in agreement regarding the divorce stance? My client does, my attorney stated. Melanie looked at me with a mixture of hatred and sadness in her eyes as I turned my head to look at her. My client does as well, Melanie's attorney clarified earlier. She was well aware that we would never be able to make amends. The tubal ligation was too much for us to put in the past. So be it, the house is going to be sold, and the profits are going to be split, my attorney said. It was the quickest divorce he had ever seen an individual process. As a result, I began my job in London, Ontario, after spending a month traveling throughout Europe on foot. When I told them that I would be there for at least 3 years, I also mentioned that I might be interested in moving back to Detroit after that. In addition to that, I assured them that I would put in an incredible amount of effort over the course of those 3 years in order to make it the most efficiently run plant in the company. When I left my marriage, she was also in a state of near destitution. The difference, on the other hand, was that I could live comfortably on a very low income, and in 15 years, I would be able to increase my net worth to $1 million by making intelligent investments. Even after 15 years, life does not always go according to the plans that were made. After a period of 3 years, I did relocate back to Detroit. It is true that I exited the London plant as the most efficiently managed plant in the company. When Brad retired, he had put in a good word for me, and I moved back to my previous position as plant manager. Melanie has relocated to California, where she is currently residing with her parents and providing assistance to them as they come of age. She dated a few men, but none of them ended up being serious. It is a mystery to me whether it was because of her or not. In the event that she did tell them the truth about the reasons why her marriage did not work out, it is possible that they became hesitant. I would like to believe that this is the case. KJ is an engineer who is currently working at the plant in New Jersey, where he is doing quite well professionally. He is married and has 2 children. After I put in a good word for her to complete her internship there, they were so impressed with her that they offered her a job after she graduated from the program. I believe that Jack must have had sufficient funds to make it to Lansing because that is where he ended up working as a used car salesman. Mary took Jack to the cleaners. With the help of a few years of therapy, Jasmine was able to meet a wonderful man, and the couple is now married with 2 children. In light of this, you might be wondering, how is it that my life has not gone according to my plans? Having said that, I relocated back to the Detroit metropolitan area. My goal was to provide additional assistance to our veterans, so I would go to the Veterans Affairs facility and make an effort to advocate for them. During the course of this, I came across Tom Jackson, a veteran who had developed cancer, most likely as a result of the chemicals that were utilized in Afghanistan. During the 8 months that he fought, I had the opportunity to get to know him quite well. However, he was ultimately unsuccessful in his efforts to overcome it. Before he passed away, he had a conversation with me. "Kurt, I want to ask you a huge favor, one that I believe you will ultimately enjoy." "What is it, Tom?" "I want you to take care of my family," he said with conviction. He was a father to 3 sons and a wife. "Sure, Tom, I'll watch out for them, no matter what," I responded to him. "No, Kurt, I am aware of the fact that you are a man of integrity, and I have witnessed the view that my wife has of you. If you could see it in your heart, I would say that you have my blessing to have another family. I guess what I am saying is that you have my blessing." The age difference between him and his wife was 10 years. They had 3 sons, ages 3, 6, and 8. I have no doubt that it would be a brand new family. "I'll look after them, no matter what," I stated in response. And it would be an honor for me if, after a period of dating, Cheryl and I discover that we have a passion for each other. Be conscious of the fact that they will never forget you. I will not allow them to do so. At the age of 45, I tied the knot with Cheryl Jackson, whose maiden name was Van der May. Her ancestry was Dutch, and she was from the opposite side of the state, where there is a sizable Dutch community. Even a town with the name Holland exists. This makes perfect sense given the presence of a large body of water, the Lolland Dunes, marshes, and rivers. Instead of Iowa, this makes more sense. Therefore, rather than living on a meager income and working my way up to $1 million in net worth, I have a family consisting of 3 boys. I live in Bloomfield Hills, and I am doing fine. I am so happy with my new life. Oh, there is one more fact. Even after 4 years, Melanie appeared to be lacking in vitality when I saw her at KJ's college graduation. She made it a point to come over to see me, and after she did so, she handed me an envelope and said, "I'm really sorry." While I was enjoying the graduation, I tucked the envelope away in my coat so that I could open it at a later time. I opened the envelope while I was flying back to Detroit from Detroit. There was a letter from Melanie that was written by hand. To begin, I would like to express my apologies to you, Kurt. You were the one who sold all of our assets when you divorced me, and I was so angry at you for doing that. My marriage lasted for 18 years, and I was able to walk away with $333,000. They first made an effort to comfort me, and then they paid for a therapist and forced me to go to see them. It has been 3 years since I was able to reach the point where I am able to express my regret to you. For a great number of things, I apologize. According to my therapist, the reason I cheated was because I was getting close to the age of 40 and couldn't believe what I had done to us. I have to say that I agree with this assessment. Although I needed to feel loved, wanted, and needed, I was unable to ask you for any of those things. Since the birth of Kay, I had been withholding sexual activity from you, and I had made you beg for it. I am now aware that it was due to the fact that I had foolishly tied my tubes. I lied to you and concealed that information from you whenever you expressed interest in having sexual relations. I couldn't tell you what I'd done because I was drowning in feelings of guilt and shame. To refresh your memory, I had just finished reading the book about zero population growth, and I was convinced that it was true. It is now common knowledge that I had already made arrangements with my physician to undergo a cesarean section, and she carried out the procedure while she was in the operating room. I was selfish while I was aware that you desired to have more children, at least one more. Our relationship was never the same after that, which caused the rift that existed between us. Despite this, you continued to love me, and you showed even more affection to our daughter. You were and continue to be an excellent husband and father. I am aware that there is no possibility of reconciliation. However, I would like you to be aware that my affair was in no way any result of anything you did or did not do. It was entirely my own doing. As the saying goes, the best form of retribution is a life well lived. I am confident that you will exact the ultimate retribution. You are deserving of it. Yours, Melanie, with deepest regrets. I must confess that I smiled, cried, and then smiled again. Listeners, I would appreciate it if you could share your thoughts in the comments section below. Additionally, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel.